For those that have been at Gibela, you will know that we were formed around 2014, right? And the idea, it was to only set or service one customer who happens to be present. And our job is to make sure that we introduce the new fleet of Prasa in replacing the old one. There was a map that was shown, that you have shown, the South African map that demonstrates where we are going to be around the country. So the idea of that map, it also gives you the complexity within our business. Number one, we have got a facility in Danota. This is where we are placed, which is the manufacturing plant. And then from there, just very close to where we are, Prof, the debate of the supply part is still coming back, because ideally it closes the issues of logistics when you've got a supply part. Né? But at this stage, we do not have that supply part. For sure, the issues around logistics are still a nightmare as it stands now. The other thing is that around where we are, which is almost about 15 kilometers away from our facility, we do have another plant which is called Alstom Ubunye, which is owned by the major shareholder of Gibela, which is Ubunye, where they are doing sort of components there, other small components. And so the reason why I'm painting this picture is for you to also understand where we are as a business, because we are still at formation. I can't say we're not a small company, we're a big company, but yet young. So what it means in terms of industrial processes, our processes are still fairly new. They have not yet matured, and whatever you need to do, you understand, I think even when it comes to lean manufacturing, that you have to master your process over and over and over again until you start to improve your timelines, isn't it? Yeah. At this time, our lead time, I'm not sure if it has improved, but what I know is that at least a day we should come to a place where we are now starting to produce your car body shell, just the car body shell, and complete it within a day. So for sure it will mean that we need to master our processes. We need to make sure that we get certain things right. But the question is, what are the key deliverables that talks to us doing, for example, the car body shell, where we are in the manufacturing space? You'll know that there will be certain prefab work that you will have to do. Things like your underframe, your side frame, before you start to do the combination for you to do that body shell. For sure it will mean, I think what Terry was talking about when he was talking about where the robots comes in to make sure that your processes are proper, you don't have a lot of wastages. As it stands now, because you've got a lot of human intervention, chances are we've got wastage. Okay? So you can pick up, I think, out of that. Yes, we do have robots that are used to do welds, but in terms of cutting and bending, we've got machineries that does that, but chances are we may find something around the wastage. For someone that is doing studies around wastage, you may be interested to follow through, isn't it? Where does this waste go? Is it a loss to business? Or we can find ways on how we bring it back into the production line. I don't know what are the opportunities that are there within the wastage. But someone can find something, isn't it? All right. Then the other thing that also comes in there is the issue, maybe another concept that I can introduce, that it's also found in industrial, is the issue of quality. Number one, how is quality defined within our workspace? And how is it monitored? I think that for me also becomes key. At what point do you check, if, for example, I'm going to just use one example before we even go into the fitting. We've got that building that is called MO2. Is this building? I think in this picture. Is this building? Yeah? It's called MO2. So its function is to do the car body shell. Before we even go further down to fitting, before we even go further down to testing and commissioning, right? So let's just talk about this one. So if we are talking about quality, what are the quality issues that we look at? What are the defects? At what point do we know that this car is badly done or it's well done? The reality of the matter is there are chances that towards the exit side there, you may find that this body shell is badly done. Those chances are there, okay? The other example that you can check whether it is badly done, it is through the water test. Because you do the water test, you need to understand that all the welds and the shuttering, everything is properly done. It's even worse if we're talking about the subject of quality. That how do you, if this guy is ready, we're done with him here, he now goes into fitting. How do we make sure that, for example, the process followed, the process followed to do the fitting? What comes to your mind when we think about the fitting of a car? Just give me an example. I don't know if the body shell is done, We're clear with the body shell. But when it comes to fitting, what comes to your mind?
Lights.
We'll think about the lights. So the way the lights are done, the person may think they are done maybe one by one, but in our processes we do them as a ceiling. So it means we must be able to put the whole ceiling, which comes with your lights. It also comes with your extractors for the fence or aircon. So that's what comes to mind. What else comes to your mind when we're talking about fitting? In actual fact, it also comes up, towards fitting, So it comes as a bogie. I think for us it's a bogie. So the bogie is done at Alstom Ubunye. Everything is done, and I think what we are going to localize again in Danota is going to be the traction motors, the ones that sit into your bogie. We're now going to do them at Danota. So the other thing that comes in there, the minute I mention that, you'll realize that there is a complexity of, when we talk about motors, there is a complexity of logistics. Moving this stuff we will do them from Danota, take them to Niger, so that they can be fitted into the bogie, and now they must come back at Danota again as a bogie completed. What are the complexity there? Logistics comes to mind. Security comes to mind. Because when you talk about motors, you're going to use a lot of copper, isn't it, Mr. Span? That area where we're going to put copper is going to be very, very much interesting. Because you're going to put a lot of copper coils there. Somebody comes, picks them up. What are the things that are coming through for you as researchers? I'm just painting a picture. Okay? Find an area of interest. So I have raised that so that you can understand that even when we talk about the fitting, this is where now you are looking at the cosmetics. You are thinking about your glasses. You are thinking about the floor. One of the interesting things, come again?
The seats.
We've got the seats. But the seats, in terms of the processes, they must wait for what? For the floor, isn't it? Yeah. But in the flooring, what are the stuffs that you use? You're going to use a lot of glue. Okay? If the gluing is not proper, at what point do I know that my gluing was not proper? Because my floor will start to peel off. When do I know that whether it was quality or not? Chances are I will know when the train starts to run. Okay? If it's very, very badly done, it will start to peel off while you're still doing testing and commissioning. But if it's fairly done, when we start to have commuters coming in and out, the chances are you will be able to see the floor. That this floor, it was badly done. But the question is, if I have to fix the floor, what will be demanded of me? So does it mean that I need to take this train back into production? I take it from wherever it was operating, back into Danota, and I remove the seats. I also remove the floor so that I can refloor it again. And the other issue again in the flooring is the lamination, because that floor is laminated. Okay? So if the lamination is not done, because it deals with glue, chances are the quality can also be compromised. So you've got a lot of space around quality issues. It could be around the processes. It could be around the material used. Those are the areas that you can also be able to look at. When we go to testing and commissioning, it will be another building which is towards the end. We do two types of test. The first one is your static testing, and the other one is more dynamic. Dr. John, someone is looking for you. Didn't you tell her that you're here? Yeah. So in terms of the static test, you will see that most of the tests, it means that you are doing the test while the train is stationary, isn't it? So that's where you start to check. If I start the engine of the train, does it pump some? Right? Does all the remember that we've got different cars. Now we are locking them together so that they produce sort of a 6-train cars. Doesn't talk to each other. What are the things that I need to check? The minute when I do the HVAC, does it blow the air throughout? Can I control it from wherever I am? So those are the tests that we do before we even take the train for dynamic test. So then from there, you take it out from the static, you take it now for dynamic testing. So dynamic testing there, it means you will surely need a driver, a person that is qualified for him to drive. Chances are this person must understand the railway regulations, because not everyone can drive the train, isn't it? Okay? So for what is important is for that person, he must understand the product we are testing, but he must also understand the rules and regulations of the railway space. How do we interact with railway? At Gibela, are we looking for, yes, we can have 1 or 2 drivers, but Gibela is not an operator, guys. I don't have to master all the rules about railway. Do you understand? Because we are not the operator. Our jobs, it's about manufacturing the trains and maintaining the trains. Yes, of course, in terms of ways of working, we must understand how do we get the train from the operator back to us. The ways of working must be key. Yes, of course, you will have to understand certain things like your how do you pump electricity? You're going to use your catenaries. That is a little bit of electrical. But do you have to, the only thing that you have to know is about the switching it off and on. How do you isolate? That for me, in terms of ways of working, it's important. But what is important for you is to understand that these trains, immediately, as it stands now, our trains is your 3 kV, for those who are interested in the technical part, in the electrical part, is the 3 kVs, and soon we will do as well the 25 kV. The chances are when you look at the train, you may not see that difference. Okay? You may not see that difference. The difference you will only be able to see it either in speed or the performance of the train and other things that could be other cosmetics. When you look at the car train is already running at 25 kV, whereas the route of the metro rail is 3 kV. Yes, the longer distances are running on your 25 kV. Okay? So what else I think that I need to paint for you as an area of opportunities? Yes, of course, we will move to the maintenance side. So the maintenance side in Pretoria, in Walmartin, for those that knows the area, Walmartin next to Vonderboom Airport somewhere. That side, we've got a depot. This is where in the past we were also doing retrofit. So retrofit, it will mean anything that was never finished at the factory, it has to be finished up wherever we are. Okay? So let's just say, for example, there were a few lights or the wiper was not there. You need to make sure that it gets to be connected. So we're doing the retrofit and the testing and commissioning for the first 20 trains. Whereas now, the trains that we are doing now in Darota, they are being tested there, and retrofit is very, very minimal, because when we release the train, it should be ready for the customer to use. So when we go out to the depots, you will need a lot of maintenance guys. What are the skills that you think you would need within the maintenance space? Maintenance space, what are the skills that you think we may need?
Electricians and fitters.
We will need electricians. We will need a lot of fitters into that space. Most of the stuff, the good thing about it, that is why you will find that our space is not very good for artisans, because for ours it's more of a plug and play, whereas an artisan must break the motor. Do you understand, Sivan? You must break the motor, understand how this motor was done. So ours, it's a plug and play. So it means if I need to replace whatever I need to replace, it's a plug and play. I must just get the part, plug it in, then we run the trains. So it's more of a fitting. Okay? So that space, it's more of a fitting. So when you come, it already tells you that you cannot come and talk about the opportunity of re-engineering in our space. They will be very slim. Do you understand? If you want to go and run the research around re-engineering, you're not going to find a lot of support from us. You will know that I think in this room we had a lot of struggle around decommissioning. Right? Where is Mr. Pruwa? Mr. Pruwa struggled with us because we're not doing decommissioning. We only have done how many? 23 for now. Only 3 that were done in South Africa. Which one do we want to decommission, Mr. Span? So it's going to be very difficult. It's not like we don't want to share with you information, but where we are, even the stage of the factory, we are not yet there. Okay? We're still just dealing with the new stuff. For sure, going forward, we may have to decommission, but we are not in that space. But when you look at a person who wants to do the research of decommissioning, where is he supposed to go? To Gibela or to Prasa?
First of
He must go to Prasa. Because Prasa is the one that is doing decommissioning. We're not doing decommissioning. We are just releasing new fleet. Okay? Whether you're going to get a good information or not from Prasa, whether they are willing to share the information, it's another different thing. But the reality is, the place where you must go for decommissioning should be the customer, Prasa. Whether you want to go to Prasa or Transnet, which are dealing only with your is there a cutoff? So I'm done. Maybe I must just stop here. The MC wants his time. So, but anyway, the picture that I wanted to paint, you can ask me questions. I wanted to paint for you to understand that whatever you are going to pick up, don't assume that Gibela does not have certain things. Rather go to close proximity. Remember I told you about, is there an assumption that we are not embracing robots? We have got robots, and our robots are installed by the major users of robots, which is your Toyota. If you remember Toyota, they've got that business unit that deals with robots. Yeah, the robotics business. They are installing it all over. Whosoever wants to do automation, we can also go and check. When you were presenting, I Googled just to find a theory of this thing called robotics. I realized that this thing in 1970, it was already there. So the issue may not be that we don't have robotics. It may mean the adoption of robotics. Do you understand? The adoption of robotics in other advanced countries, they've already adopted. But in ours in Africa, as a whole, where we still have our own issues in terms of job creation. We have got reason why people are blocking your robotics. It's not like we don't know how fast they are, but it is because we've got our own social ills, our socio-economic issues. You must consider in your studies. So all that I'm saying is that Gibela, as we are the manufacturing business. We do have the maintenance side. So whatever you need to look at it. I think a lot of opportunities. It's industrial. You will have that opportunity around industrial. Quality, I think there's a lot of opportunities that you can research on. Processes improvement, I think there's a lot of opportunities. Because anyway, whatever we've done since last year, there could be gaps of improvement, isn't it? Yeah. And I was saying to Gabisile, for your system of energy saving, she can't come and recommend that I must sell the machine. My machines are eating a lot of electricity. You know what? I only commissioned them 12 months ago. Do you understand? So the only solution she must help me with is, what are the other innovative ways I can use with whatever tools and equipment that I have in order to save electricity? I think on that note, I will just wait for questions if they are there. But if they are not there, I have my seat. Yeah.
Thoughts are always in the wrong thinking, but now we hear from the horse's mouth. Then the floor is open for questions. Prof. Mboko has indicated by raising hands. Prof. Goshaman. Then I will take one from Mr. Ogumef. Prof.
And then with the Mesita project, I think one of the things that we are supposed to do is component localization. And I think Mesita is interested in establishing those areas that are low-lying fruit that can be exploited by our students so that they can, develop the business case around that. And I just wanted to get a sense, that type of information around component localization, the low-lying hanging fruit, where can we source it? Where can we get it? Is it readily available, or it's a classified? Or there is a supplier pack meeting coming soon where these things are going to be put as open source for everybody to access, so that some of our aspiring incubators here, can run to those meetings and get a list of those things and help. They get help quickly so that they can get where they need to get to.
All right.
I can
What is the other question? Okay, you can go ahead.
So Olivia looks like she's excited.
So, okay, what you're saying, the information is available, but I'm not sure if it's, we can share it with you. I'll just need to check with my manager. But part of the things that we do in my department as supply development, we have KPIs where we need to localize certain parts. So like we need to satisfy a certain percentage in terms of localization. And yes, we don't want to localize something that is really big. We need to start small. So there is that need, but I'm not sure if we can share the information as yet. But that's something that I think it's doable.
Okay. The other thing that I also just want to indicate, Gibela always have the supply days. Prof, I think at some point we interacted, I think, in one of those engagements. Last year we had a supply day which was meant for people that are at that area where we are. Remember, this project has a lot of politics around it because of the proximity. And so we needed to do the supply day for the area called Kwatsaduza, which is Tsakani, Kwatema, and Duduza, that area. So, which is the far east of the eastern, after the airport, just far east. So, these opportunities of Gibela, number one, they visit the website, they are there. When you need to register at the database, you must check. But I think the picture that is there, it's at macro level. It's not really at micro. What we did last year, it was sort of at micro level, where we picked up very, very small components that we had to put them on the floor so that whosoever thinks they've got capability, they could look at it. This debate of localization, Prof, I think localization, I think, must be seen in two ways. Number one, it must be seen as South African developing a product that is fit for purpose. Okay? So we develop and say, let's just say for now, I'm just giving an example, raw example. Let's just say our seats as it stands, they are done using a plastic, just a normal plastic. It's injection molding, and we are able to produce seats, right? Somebody can come and say, you don't need to go and use a plastic because it's not fire resistant. I can bring something that is designed through fiber. I'm just giving that as an example. You go and design seats, and now maybe this plastic material that we were importing, we don't have to import anymore. Now we have to start using what you suggested. So that it's localization number one. But the other part of localization is when we look at the existing suppliers at Gibela, which are foreign companies that needs to localize within the country. Number one, it's either they enter on their own or they enter through a partnership. Okay? So if they're entering through a partnership, it means you become the person who is sitting on the edge with a proposal to say, I've got 1, 2, 3 exposure opportunities that I can link you, and now I'm able to assist you with the localization. So I think these two views must also be picked up by the rest of us. And you must understand that this game was not only opened in 2019, Prof. You know, I think you've been around. This game was opened already in 2014. So which means that the players somehow are already playing the game. And the rest of us, it's either we are following, at the back of these things and just making sure that we find a niche, we plug ourselves into that space. So for me, I think, Prof, if you remember the JIG project that we've done, the purpose of the JIG project, it was to do machining and remachining of any other component that could be coming from. Let's just say this component is coming from Brazil. It's not necessarily fit for purpose, but it has to be remachined. So certain things that have to happen there. You do have a products that are listed as components for localization, as she said, right? And even if you go to our website, those things are there. It's not necessarily a hidden secret. They are there. But the question is, the reason why they pick them up like that is because they saw opportunities that are there to say it's possible for you to localize these things. And it will need a lot of research. It will need a lot of people, I think, investing their thoughts around these products. One of the reasons why we are going to do the traction motors in the country is part of localization. But for sure, it's a bigger scope of things. They can't just leave it in the street. Someone will, the bigger, should I say, the bigger sharks will definitely go for it. And the other thing that it's also important is for the space that you want to occupy, you will have to start to, I think let's use an example of jigs, Prof. As our learning curve. What was the learning curve of the jigs? The learning curve of the jigs was that we didn't have manufacturing capability to produce at the rate that it's required. Okay? It's not like we could manufacture, but we can give you one after 3 months. But the business, in terms of the production rate, we don't have time to wait for one after 3 months. So then it means whosoever wants to enter into that space must understand the speed, the rate of production. All right? Are you going to be able to meet the demands that are required for that? Because the space where we are, again, the issue of quality, are you going to make sure that the quality is up to the standard? Our quality is guided in 2 ways. You've got the standards for your normal ISO, but we also have the standard which talks to, it's an international standard around railway. So those are the things that you also need to familiarize yourself with. Because remember, any product that goes to the train, it must be durable for quite some time, not only for the lifetime of a year. Trains, components must go there and stay there, even for 30 years. And that is why, for me, one of the pictures that is there, it's how we qualify our suppliers. How we do it, I think just a quick one. The minute you register, they come and do what we call a quick audit into that space. So the quick audit is done and properly done. When we have done that, we are sure that you've got a little bit of capability. Then from tomorrow we do, if we feel that we are okay, we can go together, then we come and check your technical capabilities. And unfortunately, this is usually this thing takes you a year or so before a person gets a single purchase order. Unfortunately, it's not like a quick, where you just say, hey, I've got this solution, Dr. John, tomorrow I will start supplying Gibela. Hey, we still have suppliers that were qualified a year ago. They don't have a purchase order even today. It's the reality that we face. But I think because of the proximity of the research chair, there are other areas that we can be able to push. But the bigger challenge for us, it will be the capability, manufacturing capability. If we are able to demonstrate that, certain things people can influence. But if that manufacturing capability is not there, these guys, they don't play. You can confirm, or when we were doing the jigs, we were at very, very serious pressure. Just to do only 47 jigs, guys. The pressure that was upon these guys, they needed to be at the factory almost every second day to convince people that these things are coming. And I think at some point we ended up having to do a schedule where we're delivering 2 per week. Yes. Yeah, it was almost 2 per week. And
supported by a report.
Supported by a report. And then from there it was coming from a design. There was a design that needed to be approved. And they can't manufacture if that design is not approved. And within a week, 2 jigs were expected. So the rate of production will be key for whatever thing we want to propose.
Okay.
Thank you. The next problem.
I agree very much with your description about the production process here, with all the correlation with different tasks and different parts coming in time and so on. So it's a national, from my German side, national industrial complex process. It's a complex process, so you have to manage complexity.
Yes.
Complexity. Yeah, that's Brit. Okay. On the other hand, that's what we saw here in the afternoon. We have the university people, and they are educated in their specific discipline to be as good as even possible to make a solution in this small area. And our challenge is to bring these both systems together, to train them that they are really brilliant in their discipline, but also showing them how to integrate this in a complex system. So that means we must teach from the university side how complex system works, and it's only possible when you are in such systems. You can do it not only theoretically. So we needed exchange with industry, with Gibela. And for this purpose, the question of the place where it happens is correct, because you can see it if you look at the incubator, the Ford incubator in Silverton. There's an incubator for black-owned small companies, and it's just at the edge of the production line of Ford, just to give the incubators a real-time experience what Ford is needed. And this exchange we must organize. My question is, what is your image, what is your process you have in mind, bringing not only these students to Gibela, but also coming from Gibela side and show how complex this system is. We do it now here for one time a year or for 2 times a year, but it must be a continuous process. And I guess the incubator is really the first and right approach to this.
It's a good comment. I'm not going to stay long in that, because we already remember that the issue of an incubator, we're part of it. Gibela it's playing into that. I'm part of sort of a board member of that incubator, including other people at Gibela. So we're involved.
Yeah.
So the research chain by itself, it has sort of it has an offspring. You know, one of the offspring is the incubator. So Gibela is there. We are working this journey together. So if there is any other, I think even for the senior guys that are here, they will tell you that for whatever they were doing, if we were able to support them, we supported them.
Yeah.
So there is a lot of engagement and interaction with most of the projects that are happening here. A person like, what's her name, Kumbuzi, her project, it was done for Gibela. It's just that for ethic reasons, she can't mention Gibela. That's what we agreed on. But we are giving this support. We are there to support you guys in the best way that it's possible. But when it comes to the incubation side, those opportunities, I think they are still there. These guys were tested for them to manufacture the jigs. It was part of it. But I think in terms of making sure that we've got the technical expertise of and the rate at which we can produce. If the idea is for academic purposes, then you can get it as soon as yesterday. But if the idea is for profit making, you need to make sure that your vehicle is well oiled. You are able to move with speed that is required. For academic purposes, even whatever you need to do, we will support you, I think, as soon as yesterday. But the ones for the commercial part is something that you have to demonstrate your strong capability.